Kathleen Kane is the Attorney General for the state of Pennsylvania. The Attorney General functions as the main legal advisor to the government. They regulate the legal components of all federal agencies and engage in cultivating policies and criminal investigations from fraud, sex crimes, embezzlement, and narcotics. Kane is the first Democrat and woman to be elected into this position. A plethora of white-collar crimes have been exposed under the Kane administration. In resistance to her whistleblowing and unveiling criminal activity of her peers, she has been targeted by the Old Boy Network. It is my assessment that the suspension of her law license and the pending criminal charges can be considered punishment for choosing not to run with the herd. White-collar crimes can be defined as crimes that are committed by business and government officials and professionals. Edwin Sutherland coined the term and states, a crime committed by a person of respectability and high social status in the course of his occupation. Kane was keen from the inception of becoming Attorney General on how her colleagues were handling legal issues. She immediately challenged Governor Tom Corbett on the handling of the Sandusky case. She publicly suggested that the investigation for the Sandusky case was strategically delayed in return for campaign funds for Tom Corbett's bid for governor. You don't put a case like that before the grand jury, she said. That was the leadership. Somebody made the decision that they were going to drag that out. Somebody made the decision that they were going to cloak it in secrecy. And I never would have done that. It has never taken me 3 years to get a pedophile off the street. Kane opened up an investigation to determine if the Sandusky sexual assault case was delayed. It was found that Corbett did not donate $2 million. It was found that Corbett did donate $2 million to the Second Mile, a children's day camp run by Sandusky, that also provided him with unlimited access to children. 2 from the organization have come forward as being victimized. The Sandusky case, if you review it in full form, is an American tragedy. Administrators from all levels of government involved in a sex crime scandal that went on for a span of 15 years. Middle-aged male adults protected this man at the expense of the lives of children. Kathleen Kane had every right to look deeper into this case, to penalize and verbally out the emails of administrators and how they chose to feed this man's disease instead of stopping him. Kathleen Kane was also responsible for dropping charges or ceasing an investigation against local politicians for taking bribes. She believed that the charges were racially biased and only targeted African American politicians. This really angered the herd and prompted the district attorney Seth Williams to take on the case, where he did in fact find a few low-ranking politicians guilty of taking money. Finally, there's Porngate, where racist, sexist emails were distributed amongst judges and several high-ranking officials within the judicial community of Pennsylvania. The emails contained comments that repeatedly reflected racist, sexist remarks. At least 30 state officials had engaged in this activity. State Environment Protection Secretary Christopher Abruzzo, State Environmental Protection Chief Deputy Counsel Glenn Parnell, and State Police Commissioner Frank Nolan. These are all officials that resigned. In conclusion, Kathleen Kane is a woman of integrity. She's courageous. I meet women like this locally all the time. However, it is very difficult for women of this caliber and nature to climb the glass ceiling in the corporate and government workplace. Clearly, she has disturbed the status quo, the state of affairs in Pennsylvania government, especially as it pertains to children, women, and race. The criminal charges and the suspension of her law license is punishment for being fearless and challenging the ethics of her peers. Very rarely will we find a woman as such in politics, and we should support her through her journey. Women by nature are the gatekeepers of society. We have an intrinsic duty to protect our children and our communities. Kane demonstrates that a woman can be successful doing this. She shows us that women should not be afraid to stand up for what they believe is right, no matter the consequences. Kane shows us that we can run with the wolves, but we don't have to be one.